in the Evo version 1.22, there is a new feature. We've added support for GSM modems, and that means you can take a hardware SMS gateway, plug it into your server, and then use it to trigger events on the server side simply by sending a short message to a specified number, and then also to make the server send you messages when something important happens on the server side. And finally, for the two-factor authentication for your operators when they log into the Evo Monitor or Evo Console application. So let's see how those modems are configured and used in Luxriot Evo applications. So now that you've done the easy part, you bought the modem, you plugged it into the server, and now go to the device manager and try installing the drivers. What we see from our experience, most of the time Windows is unable of installing the device drivers automatically or even by browsing for the driver folder. So what you will have to do is unpack the driver and then enter the directory and then run the driver installation file manually. So speaking of modem hardware, of course, you need to pick something sensible according to your customer's budget, but certainly please don't buy anything cheap, like the cheapest no name, because we don't want to handle the issues that will come together with it, and it just won't work properly, neither with Evo nor with other softwares. So after you install the modem drivers, it will appear in Device Manager, and it will occupy a range of ports. So you will see that it will appear both under ports, under serial devices, and also under modems. So now that it's clear that Windows is able to see that this is a modem device, not just some serial port occupant, and you will need to note the port, the serial port that it occupies specifically as a modem. In this case, it is COM port 6. So next thing, you need to add the modem in console. You can do this under configuration by locating GSM modems in the menu on the left, and then as usual use the plus new item button on the top panel. So in the settings, you will need to fill in that port you found in the device manager. So other ports like the communication port occupied by the same modem, it might also work, and you can use the test button in Evo to check this. Then regarding the settings, you might want to match the settings on the modem side, or you can force other settings from Evo. So specifically, you might want to increase the baud rate to something faster, just to ensure that the messages are transmitted faster to the modem hardware. So we recommend that first of all you try the default settings, make sure that the modem works properly and that it can send and receive messages properly, and then play around with the settings, increasing the baud rate, changing the stop bit setting, etc., etc. So as for the last two settings, these are also recommended to be left to default. So SMS mode to the value text, and the SMS encoding to the value ASCII. So this should work good for most of the use cases. If you're absolutely sure what you're doing, if you know what you're doing, then you can change those values to something different. But also, even if you know you will need, for example, the PDU mode, first of all, make sure the modem works with the default settings, and then start tweaking it. So click OK to save the settings to add the modem into the server configuration. You will see that it appears in the list, and you can use the test button on the top panel to test this modem if it actually works. You enter a phone number in the international format and enter a text, and the software will pass a message for the modem to send. So if it's freshly connected, it might show the failed status, but it should be okay. It should be ready in a couple of settings or so. If it's showing the failed status continuously, you might want to play around with the COM port setting and pick the right serial port for the modem to transmit. So in that case, just go back to the modem settings and pick a different port, save the settings, and hit the test button again. If the test is successful, then it means that the modem is ready to be used with Evo. So like I said, the modems can be used to send and receive messages, and I'm going to show you an example of how to create an action that will send an SMS to a specified number, just like to an email. So let's try an action. Let's create a modem related action. Remember to choose the server in the event and action rule center. Before starting the configurator, remember to choose the same server where the modem is installed. As usual, in the Evo event and action configurator, there's a special action type called send short message, send SMS, where you can specify the text using our usual macros. And also remember to enter the phone numbers everywhere in international formats, even if you are inside the United States. So let's save this action here. I'm gonna bind it to a user button click, which is the simplest way to verify if my target action is working. Another option to verify your rule after you've created the rule and saved it, you can go back to the rules section, and on the top panel there is a special test button that will imitate the event, and you will get the result of the rule. In this case, I'm going to receive the message on my phone right now. And in a similar manner, you can also create events in the event and action center and use those events to send SMS to the modem for it to be passed to the Evo server in order to trigger any sorts of actions you want. And if we don't use the test button and try triggering the actual rule from the Evo monitor application, so here's what we've got. So the second big application for modems for SMS in Evo is the two-factor authentication. So for each user, you need to specify their phone number in the international format, including the country code. So just as for the email verification for 2FA, you need to specify the user's correct email address. Here you need to specify the user's phone number, make sure it's correct, and then the user will be able to use short messages as a verification step when logging into the monitor application. So let's see how it works. It doesn't work straight away, so you need a bit of preliminary setup for this. So if I try logging in straight away, I will see that I don't have any two-factor authentication services set up. So what I will need to do is go back to console as an administrator, go to the server settings, where if in case of global, double click the global server, where you will find the 2FA setup. So first of all, you need to add a new authentication provider, authentication notification provider. So in order to do that, you simply select your modem from the list, save it, and then specify the rest of the settings for 2FA. So when you are enabling 2FA, the console will ask you to verify the notification provider to make sure the use provider is correct and that it's working, so that your users can actually use it in future. So in this case, I'm going to have a failure right here because the verification is conducted for the current user, and obviously I don't have my phone number specified for the current user. So not just for your operators, make sure to specify your own phone address in order to be able to verify the SMS verification notification provider. So let me just enter my phone number one more time right here, and then go back to the 2FA settings. So actually, in the server settings, you can first set up everything, but keep the 2FA disabled until this point. And then when you're ready to enable it, you just specifically enable it and then go through the verification steps. So in this case, here's my message and here's my code. Thus, after verifying that the modem actually works, I'm able to save the 2FA settings from the server. So if I now try logging in with a designated user, if you remember, so for localhost, 2FA is not used by default, just in case the identifications providers are not available. And so let's see what happens. So the user, the operator, whoever logs in, they will be able to use one of your provided verification providers in order to verify their login by entering a code. And in this manner, their login to the Monitor application is much more secure, because it not only proves that they know the administrator's password, but they also possess the phone, which phone number was specified for the current user.